Ever wonder why they called him the refrigerator or how a running back earned the name Beast Mode? NFL nicknames aren't just cool-sounding labels. They're legendary stories etched into football history. From earth-shaking touchdown runs to ministers who preach pain on Sundays, these 14 nicknames define generations of football. Number 12, the playmaker, Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin didn't just make plays, he made the plays, the ones that mattered, the ones that won championships. That's how you earn a nickname like the playmaker, and brother, did Irvin live up to it every single Sunday. Standing at 6'2" with hands like magnets, Irvin terrorized defensive backs throughout the 90s. But here's what separated him from other great receivers when the Cowboys absolutely needed a first down. When the game was on the line, when lesser players would shrink, number 88 would somehow get open. Third and long, throw it to the playmaker. Need a touchdown with 2 minutes left? You know where Aikman's looking? The Dallas dynasty of the 90s doesn't happen without Irvin. 3 Super Bowl rings, 5 Pro Bowls, and 11,904 career receiving yards tell part of the story. But the real playmaker magic was in the moments, like in the 1992 NFC Championship when he torched the 49ers for 192 yards and 2 touchdowns. Or Super Bowl 27 when he snagged 6 catches for 114 yards and 2 scores against Buffalo. What made Irvin special wasn't just the stats, it was the swagger. He'd tell defenders exactly what route he was running, then burn them anyway. The chain, the talk, the emotion, it all added up to must-see TV. Cowboys offensive coordinator Ernie Zampese said, "Isn't it best? Some guys make plays. Michael makes the plays." Hence, the playmaker. And unlike players today who get nicknames for one good season, Irvin earned his through a decade of dominance. When you needed someone to make a play, there was only one man to call. Before we move on to the next one in the list, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you're enjoying this content so far, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch these videos without subscribing. Imagine what we could accomplish if everyone subscribed. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. Thanks to all of you who do. Number 11, the bus, Jerome Bettis. At 5'11" and 250 pounds of pure power, Jerome Bettis didn't run through defenders. He relocated them. The bus wasn't just a nickname, it was a physics lesson. And baby, when the bus got rolling downhill in the fourth quarter, you better get out of the way or become part of the pavement. The nickname actually came from his Notre Dame days when teammate Mark Edwards looked at Bettis and said, "Man, you're like a bus." It stuck because, honestly, what else do you call a running back who literally carried defenders into the end zone? Bettis would hit the hole, defensive backs would bounce off him like ping pong balls, and suddenly you'd see 3 guys hanging on for dear life as he rumbled forward. Here's what's crazy. The bus rushed for 13,662 yards, 6th all time, despite not being a speed back. His 40-yard dash, nobody cares. Because once Bettis got those tree trunks churning, momentum took over. Steelers fans would chant, "Bus, bus, bus," every time he touched the ball in short yardage situations, knowing a first down was basically guaranteed. The 2005 season was pure Hollywood. The bus announced it would be his last year. The Super Bowl was in his hometown of Detroit. And what happens? Pittsburgh rides the bus all the way to a championship in his own backyard. In Super Bowl 40, Bettis scored a touchdown and retired on top, bringing his Hall of Fame career full circle. 6 Pro Bowls, 2-time NFL rushing leader, and 0 defenders who enjoyed tackling him. When they say load up the bus, trust me, nobody wanted that assignment. Number 10, the Minister of Defense, Reggie White. Reggie White wasn't just dominant on Sundays, he was literally an ordained minister who would preach to quarterbacks before sending them to the turf. The Minister of Defense perfectly captured both sides of this Hall of Famer, the gentle giant off the field and the absolute nightmare between the lines. At 6'5" and 300 pounds, White revolutionized the defensive end position. But here's what's wild. He was also freakishly quick. The man recorded 198 career sacks, 2nd all time, using a move nobody could stop the hump move. He'd club offensive tackles with one arm like they were children, then blow past them to demolish quarterbacks. Brett Favre said playing against White in practice made actual games feel easy. The nickname started during his days with the Philadelphia Eagles, where he'd hold Bible study sessions for teammates. But don't let the minister part fool you. On game day, White transformed into something unholy for opposing offenses. 13 Pro Bowls, 10 All-Pro selections, and 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards. And when he signed with Green Bay in 1993, he instantly transformed them from losers to Super Bowl champions. White would literally pray with opponents after sacking them, which had to be the most demoralizing thing ever. Imagine getting pancaked, then having the guy who just destroyed you offer spiritual guidance. In Super Bowl 31, the minister recorded 3 sacks against the Patriots, basically winning the game single-handedly. He finished with 198 career sacks, despite playing in an era when offensive linemen could actually hold. The Minister of Defense wasn't just a nickname, it was a warning. Number 9, Mean Joe Green. They called him Mean Joe Green, but here's the thing. Joe Green wasn't actually mean off the field. The nickname came from his college days at North Texas State, where the team was known as the Mean Green. But when offensive linemen faced him on Sundays, oh yeah, he earned every letter of that nickname. Green wasn't just the foundation of the Steel Curtain defense, he was the Steel Curtain. At 6'4" and 275 pounds, he might seem small by today's standards, but in the 1970s, Mean Joe was a destroyer of worlds. The man basically invented the 3-4 defense by being so disruptive that Pittsburgh had to adjust their entire scheme around him. How dominant was he? Dude won Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. But here's what made Mean Joe special: the intimidation factor. He'd line up at an angle, sometimes directly over the center, and just dare teams to run at him. Spoiler alert, they couldn't. 4 Super Bowl rings, 10 Pro Bowls, and a Hall of Fame career built on making offensive linemen question their career choices. The famous Coca-Cola commercial where he gives a kid his jersey, that showed the gentle giant beneath the mean exterior. What's crazy is Green would literally throw offensive linemen out of his way like ragdolls, not push throw. His teammates said watching him work was like watching a man among boys. Chuck Noll called him the greatest player he ever coached, and this is a guy who coached like half the Hall of Fame. Mean Joe Green didn't just dominate, he redefined what a defensive tackle could be, and that nickname, it became synonymous with Pittsburgh toughness forever. Number 8, Night Train, Dick Lane. Here's a fun fact that'll blow your mind. Dick Night Train Lane's nickname had nothing to do with how he played football. The Hall of Famer got the name because he was terrified of flying and would listen to Buddy Morrow's hit song, Night Train, to calm his nerves. But once he hit the field, man, Night Train was the one causing fear. Lane's story is bonkers. The dude walked into the Los Angeles Rams facility in 1952 with no college experience, no agent, just a scrapbook of his high school highlights. The Rams took a flyer on him, and all he did was set the NFL record for interceptions as a rookie with 14 picks in just 12 games. That record still stands today, and with the modern passing game, it'll probably never be broken. But Night Train wasn't just about interceptions. He revolutionized the cornerback position. He invented the bump and run coverage that's still used today. His signature move? The Night Train necktie. A clothesline tackle so violent, they literally had to make it illegal. Offensive players were getting concussed left and right. This wasn't dirty play by the standards of the 1950s. It was just Night Train being Night Train. The man finished his career with 68 interceptions, despite playing in an era when teams threw maybe 15 times a game. He did it with pure instinct and athleticism. No fancy schemes, no complex coverages, just line up and dare quarterbacks to throw his way. Smart ones didn't. Lane was so good that he made the Hall of Fame, the NFL's 75th anniversary team, and had rules changed because of him. All because a guy afraid of flying turned into the most feared defensive back in football history. How's that for irony? Number 7, Broadway Joe, Joe Namath. Joe Namath didn't just play in New York, he was New York. Broadway Joe perfectly captured everything about this quarterback. The bright lights, the guarantee, the fur coats, the ladies, and oh yeah, the arm that backed it all up. This cat turned football into show business. The nickname started because Namath embraced Manhattan nightlife like no athlete before him. While other quarterbacks were studying film, Broadway Joe was at the Copacabana until 4 a.m., then throwing dimes on Sunday. The man wore fur coats on the sideline, dated models, and did pantyhose commercials. In 1960s NFL, that was revolutionary. He made being a quarterback cool. But here's what people forget. Broadway Joe could ball. That Super Bowl III guarantee against the 18-point favorite Colts, he backed it up, throwing for 206 yards and shocking the world. The AFL's credibility, that's all Namath. Without that victory, the NFL might look totally different today. He was the first quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season in just 14 games. And his release was quicker than a Broadway curtain drop. The fur coats, the bachelor pad, the swagger, it all added up to must-see TV whenever the Jets played. Namath understood that football was entertainment, and he was the headliner. 5 Pro Bowls, 1 magical Super Bowl, and a Hall of Fame career that transcended the sport. Other quarterbacks won more games, but nobody, and I mean nobody, did it with more style than Broadway Joe. He didn't just play in the Big Apple, he took a massive bite out of it. Number 6, Sweetness, Walter Payton. The irony of Walter Payton's nickname is absolutely perfect. They called him Sweetness, but there was nothing sweet about taking a handoff from Jim McMahon and running directly into your chest cavity. The nickname actually came from his college days at Jackson State, where his smooth running style and gentle personality off the field earned him the moniker. But NFL defenders learned real quick. Sweetness could knock your teeth out. Payton revolutionized the running back position by refusing to run out of bounds. Ever. This 5'10", 200-pound bundle of muscle would seek out contact, deliver punishment, then hop up like nothing happened. He rushed for 16,726 yards, second all-time when he retired. But more importantly, he missed just 1 game in 13 seasons. 1 game. In an era when running backs were getting 25-30 carries per game. But here's what made Sweetness special, the complete package. Dude threw 8 touchdown passes, caught 492 passes, and even punted. He once threw a touchdown pass, rushed for a touchdown, and caught a touchdown pass in the same game. Who does that? When defenders finally wrapped him up, Peyton would literally jump over them, not around over, like they were hurdles at a track meet. The 1985 Bears don't win the Super Bowl without sweetness, period. 9 Pro Bowls, NFL MVP in 1977, and the NFL's Man of the Year award is now named after him. That tells you everything about his character. Mike Ditka called him the greatest football player he'd ever seen, and Iron Mike had seen them all. They say sweetness killed with kindness. Well, Peyton killed with sweetness, leaving a trail of bruised defenders, wondering how someone so nice off the field could be so nasty on it. Number 5, the refrigerator, William Perry. At 6'2" and 335 pounds, William, the refrigerator. Perry wasn't just big, he was a cultural phenomenon. When the Bears drafted this defensive tackle in 1985, one look at him and the nickname was born. But here's what's wild. The Fridge became the most beloved 300-pounder in America by doing something nobody expected, scoring touchdowns. Mike Ditka was either a genius or completely insane when he started using Perry as a running back in goal line situations. Probably both, but when you handed the Fridge the ball at the 1-yard line, physics took over. Defenders would hit him and literally bounce backward. It was like trying to tackle an actual refrigerator rolling downhill. 2 rushing touchdowns as a rookie, including one in the Super Bowl, and America fell in love. The Fridge became bigger than football. McDonald's commercials, G.I. Joe action figures, his own candy bar, this defensive tackle was everywhere. He appeared on Letterman, had his own poster, and became the first 300-pound celebrity athlete. The man was making more in endorsements than most starting quarterbacks, all because Ditka decided to give a defensive lineman the ball. But don't sleep on his actual defensive skills. Perry was a legit player who helped anchor that legendary 85 Bears defense. He'd eat up double teams, allowing guys like Mike Singletary to roam free. In Super Bowl 20, he caught a touchdown pass, a 335-pound defensive tackle catching touchdowns in the Super Bowl. The refrigerator wasn't just a nickname or a novelty act. He changed how coaches thought about versatility. And that smile? Man, the Fridge enjoyed every second of it, becoming the most lovable big man in NFL history. Number 4, primetime, Deion Sanders. When Deion Sanders strutted onto the field, the stadium transformed into his personal theater. Primetime wasn't just a nickname. It was a promise. The lights got brighter, the crowd got louder, and number 21 was about to put on a show that you'd be telling your grandkids about. Sanders didn't just shut down receivers, he eliminated half the field. Offensive coordinators would literally draw up game plans that said, "Don't throw at Deion." But here's what separated Primetime from every other defensive back: he wanted you to throw his way. The man would bait quarterbacks into bad throws, pick it off, then high-step his way to 6 points while doing his signature dance. 2 Super Bowls, 8 Pro Bowls, and the only player to score touchdowns 6 different ways. The Flash was legendary. Gold chains, bandanas, arriving to games in limos. Deion understood that sports were entertainment, and he was the headline act. He'd play a Sunday NFL game, then fly to play Major League Baseball that same night. Who else could hit a home run in the NLCS and score an NFL touchdown in the same week? Only Primetime. But beneath all that flash was maybe the best pure cover corner ever. His 4.27 speed meant receivers couldn't outrun him, and his instincts were supernatural. He returned 9 interceptions for touchdowns and had 19 total defensive and return touchdowns, an NFL record at the time. When they say shutdown corner, they're comparing guys to Primetime. He backed up every piece of trash talk, every guarantee, every flashy play. Other players hated the showboating until they realized this dude really is that good. Primetime didn't just play in big games, he owned them. Number 3, Megatron, Calvin Johnson. In 2007, the Transformers movie hit theaters, and rookie Calvin Johnson hit the NFL. When Lions receiver Roy Williams saw the 6'5", 237-pound specimen with hands the size of tennis rackets, he immediately dubbed him Megatron, after the movie's villain. Little did anyone know this nickname would become synonymous with the most physically dominant receiver in NFL history. Johnson was basically created in a lab to destroy defensive backs. The combine numbers were stupid 4.35 40, 42.5-inch vertical, 11 feet 7-inch broad jump. But here's what made Megatron special. He used every bit of that freakish athleticism on Sundays. Defensive coordinators would assign 2, sometimes 3 defenders to him, and he'd still catch 10 balls for 150 yards. It wasn't fair. It was like playing Madden with the sliders turned up. The 2012 season? Forget about it. Megatron caught 122 passes for 1,964 yards, shattering Jerry Rice's single-season record. And he did it on a 4-12 Lions team where everyone knew he was getting the ball. That's like telling the defense to play and still scoring. His catch against the Bengals where he got triple-teamed, YouTube that immediately, it defied physics. What's crazy is Johnson retired at 30, walking away in his prime because his body was beat up from carrying the Lions franchise. 9 seasons, 6 Pro Bowls, 11,619 receiving yards, and every single catch was must-see TV. Defensive backs would hold him, grab his jersey, interfere with him, and Megatron would still come down with the ball. He transformed from a Transformers reference into his own legendary entity. When people say Megatron now, they don't think of a cartoon villain. They think of number 81 making impossible catches look routine. Number 2, Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch. January 8th, 2011. Playoffs, fourth quarter. The 7-9 Seahawks facing the defending champion Saints. What happened next didn't just create a nickname, it literally caused an earthquake. Marshawn Lynch took a handoff, broke 9 tackles, stiff-armed Tracy Porter into another dimension, and rumbled 67 yards for the most electrifying touchdown in playoff history. Beast Mode was born, and Seattle's crowd went so crazy it registered on a nearby seismograph. But here's the thing about Beast Mode, it wasn't just one run, it was a mentality. Lynch explained it perfectly. Run through a motherfucker's face. That's it. That's the philosophy. No dancing, no juking, just pure, violent, beautiful power. Defenders would hit him and somehow end up going backward. Physics professors could write dissertations on how Lynch generated power from those tree trunk thighs. The cultural impact? Massive. Lynch turned Beast Mode into a brand, selling everything from hoodies to headphones. The phrase made it into the actual dictionary. But on the field, Beast Mode meant fourth and short was automatic. Goal line? Give it to Marshawn. Super Bowl on the line? Well, we don't talk about that, but Lynch's 5 Pro Bowls, 10,413 career rushing yards, and 1 Super Bowl ring cement his legacy. What made Beast Mode special was the joy. Lynch genuinely loved punishing defenders. He'd eat Skittles on the sideline, grab his crotch while diving into the end zone, earning hefty fines, and give the most hilarious non-answers in press conferences. "I'm just here so I won't get fined" became legendary. But when that O-line called 17 power, everyone in the stadium knew what was coming, and nobody could stop it. Beast Mode wasn't just a nickname, it was a warning label. Number 1, the Secretary of Defense, Deacon Jones. The holder of the all-time sack record. Probably. The man who literally invented the term sack. But David Jones knew one thing when he entered the NFL in 1961. Nobody was going to fear a player named David Jones. So he became Deacon Jones, and offensive linemen's nightmares began. Jones explained it simply, Deacon sounded intimidating, like someone who'd punish you for your sins. And brother, did he punish quarterbacks? The NFL didn't even track sacks during his career, but researchers estimate he had over 170, which would be the all-time record. The man was so dominant, they had to change the rules. His head slap move, banned. Literally too effective for the sport. At 6'5" and 272 pounds with world-class speed, Deacon revolutionized the defensive end position. He wasn't just trying to tackle quarterbacks, he wanted to put them in the cemetery. His words. The fearsome foursome defensive line of the Rams terrorized the NFL throughout the 60s with Deacon as the headliner. 8 Pro Bowls, 5-time All-Pro, and the NFL's 75th anniversary team. But here's what cemented Deacon as the GOAT of nicknames. He lived it completely. He'd tell quarterbacks before the snap exactly how he was going to destroy them, then do it. Johnny Unitas said Deacon was the only player who scared him. When you invent the term for taking down quarterbacks and hold the unofficial record for doing it, that's legendary. Other players have nicknames. Deacon Jones was his nickname. Number 1 on this list, number 1 pass rusher of all time. And the reason quarterbacks still have nightmares about Sunday sermons, from Deacon Jones creating the sack to beast mode, creating earthquakes, these nicknames aren't just labels. They're legacies carved into NFL history. Each name tells a story of dominance, personality, and unforgettable moments that shape the game we love. Next time you hear these legendary nicknames, you'll know the incredible stories behind them. Did your favorite make the list? Drop a comment below, smash that subscribe button, and join our crew for more epic NFL content every week. Until next time, keep those nicknames alive and that football passion burning.